What's up, fam? It's Friday, so let's make this quick and get everyone the hell out of here. Jessie, Emerson the Sweat, NBA panel, DK Live's Julian Edlow, Adam Mancuda of Phantom Sports, and the Action Network's Matt LaMarca.
Take your time, gentlemen. We have an entire hour ahead of us. We're going to start with pick and roll, choosing between some of the top options for tonight's 8-game slate. At center, guess who's back? Back again. Anthony Davis will be in the lineup for New Orleans now that the trade deadline has passed and he's still in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So he's going to cost you 11-2 against Minnesota. So do you roll with the brow or pay down for Nikola Jokic, coming off a 65 DK point performance his last time out? He's $800 cheaper as the Nuggets visit the 76ers. Julian, where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis is back, but we already know that he's going to see a little bit of a reduced role in terms of minutes here, and that the Pelicans might be resting him on some back-to-backs. So, you know, it's kind of a mystery, but can we afford to spend this much salary on a mystery in terms of not knowing how many minutes Davis is going to play? On the flip side, Jokic, he gets a matchup where Joel Embiid is still questionable here, so that could kind of play into how we answer. If Embiid is out, this becomes a much better matchup for Jokic. So I'll just take the sure thing. Jokic has been playing really well lately. He had a huge triple-double in Brooklyn the other night. I'll roll with Jokic here and save a little bit of money.
Matt, you want to roll the dice here with the brow?
Yeah, I'm definitely willing to take on a little bit more risk with my tournament lineups than it sounds like Julian is. They're saying he's not going to play 37 minutes a night anymore, but what does that mean? Maybe it still means 34. And if it's, 34 or so, I love the thought of getting Anthony Davis at potentially reduced ownership. I do think a bunch of people are going to be scared off by the narrative that he's not going to play as much tonight, but Anthony Davis can still do a heck of a lot of damage in 34 minutes of playing time, and that's what we have him projected for at the Action Network. Pretty good matchup versus the Timberwolves. They haven't played a ton of defense this year. Karl Anthony Towns, also not known for his defense. So I think that this might be one of the few chances that we get all season to roster Anthony Davis at, 15% ownership or less.
I mean, LaMarca makes a good point there, Adam.
Yeah, I'm actually siding with Julian on this one. And the reason for that is very simple. We just don't know what the plan is with Davis moving forward. If I'm the Pelicans and I'm the ownership there, yeah, I want him to play so I don't hear from the league and saying for competitive balance circumstances you can't rest him. But to me, give it one game and let's see what goes from there. It's not like Jokic has a very tough matchup tonight, especially if Embiid is sidelined. So I'll save the $800 here. Go with a guy that we know is going to be in the lineup. That's the cornerstone of their offense. And who knows? Maybe he puts up more points than Davis. And we already know how much of an injury risk Anthony Davis is each and every time he comes on the court. He could break a fingernail.
That's baloney.
So to me, I'll take Jokic here and save the money.
Go ahead, Matt.
Anthony Davis hasn't left the game and stayed out all season.
Stayed out, but he comes back. Maybe they rest his
He's gone to the locker room and then comes back and drops 75 DraftKings points and everybody's still happy. I'm just saying, from an ownership perspective, that's what makes it different to me. I don't think Jokic is going to be sneaky. This is probably the first time all season where Anthony Davis is going to be lower owned than Nikola Jokic. So I'm willing to pay the extra $800.
I do agree with Matt here, I guess, on the ownership aspect of this. But where the reason that I sided with Jokic is just you keep saying 34 minutes. You haven't projected for 34 minutes, but we don't know that. They never said he's going to play a little less. It's going to be 34. It could be 28.
Could be. It's a tournament play for me.
But I respect that you're going to pay to find out.
Yeah.
All right, boys, moving on. Kevin Durant, he hates the media, but not us.
No, he doesn't know us.
He's going to cost you $9,100 at Phoenix, or you can take a look at Tobias Harris in his 76ers debut. Go that route, and you'll save $1 bajillion. He's just $6,800. Matthew?
I'm not playing either, but I would like to let Kevin Durant know the media will be very nice to him in New York next year.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I could put a word in. We'll take it easy on him. He doesn't want to talk to us. That's fine. In reality, I just don't think you can pay up for. Hey, that's not nice. I don't think you can pay up for Tobias Harris, even at $6,800. This is a situation with uncertainty that I'm not really willing to take a risk on because I don't see the upside. Like with Davis, there's tangible upside to playing him, even though we don't know what his role is going to be. With upside, with Harris, it's like, what's his best case scenario? 40 DK points? That doesn't really move the needle for me. Durant obviously has huge blowout concerns against Phoenix. They're 15-point favorites, I believe. And he hasn't been playing great with DeMarcus Cousins back in the lineup anyway. So I will take Durant. I think he's the better play of the two, but I don't feel particularly great about it.
Who is your pick at forward, though? You have another one?
Well, I mean, you can't go wrong paying all the way up for Giannis.
Okay.
And if you want to go a little cheaper, Andrew Wiggins stands out to me tonight.
Adam, between these two, Durant or Harris, who do you like? Or do you want to go the route that LaMarcus just went and give us another option?
I like Durant here. I think that a lot has been obviously made over the last couple of days about his outburst towards the media. I think that the Warriors in this circumstance will get him going tonight. And again, we don't know what Tobias Harris's role truly will be yet with the Sixers. Again, if Embiid's out, obviously that gives him more touches, more opportunity. I think this in reality is going to be a much better trade for the team than your fantasy team, where Harris provides them a huge option, moving forward in the Eastern Conference, which is obviously loaded now. But for your fantasy teams and your rosters, I just want to see a game or two of how that kind of goes. So I'm certainly going to pay up for Durant and then go from there.
Jules, do you pay up or do you save $2,300 here?
My real answer, like Matt, is neither.
Okay.
Durant's the better play. He just scored 54 points in a blowout against San Antonio, but can he do that again if the Warriors mop the floor with the Suns? Who knows? Maybe it's Curry's night, Klay Thompson's night, Boogie's night. And then in terms of Harris, I guess if you want to pick between the two, you can make the argument the same reason that Matt said you get low ownership on Anthony Davis. You'll get really low ownership on Tobias Harris, but if Embiid plays, he's going to be like the third option on his new team. The only thing is, this is a guy that costs generally over $8,000 with the Clippers, and now he's below $7,000. So you get some savings on a good player. But really here, like Matt said, Wiggins is a guy that I like a lot. Lauri Markkanen, another mid-priced forward. Then you've got a guy like Luke Kennard, who the Pistons traded all their wings, and now Luke Kennard's going to start for them against the Knicks at just $3,500.
Jules, real quick, Ryan Krause on Facebook says he's picking Kevin Love. Do you like that pick? I believe it's a game-time decision tonight.
Right. So first we need to make sure Kevin Love is playing. And then second, no, I hate that pick because he's going to be playing for the first time since mid-October, coming off a surgically repaired toe. He'll be on a minutes restriction. Yeah, we need to see what Kevin looks like before we're paying $7,500 for him.
Yeah, wait till the next slate when he's under like 6K. Then you can play him, maybe.
Yeah.
That seems like
deep
a
drop
fair
off probably
call.
on the way there.
Okay,
Fair
Ryan,
call.
there's plenty of advice for you to pick from.
All right, guys, in the backcourt, the last pick in yesterday's All-Star draft, Wizards guard Bradley Beal. He's going to run you 8-8 versus Cleveland. Do you like Beal, or will you pay down for D'Angelo Russell, who has an $8,100 price tag as the Nets host the Bulls? Adam, where are you going?
I actually like Russell hitting this spot a little bit. Again, the Bulls play very little defense. I think Russell should have his way here. The Nets obviously are relying on this guy a hell of a lot to obviously put up the numbers. My one concern, though, tonight is I think Karis LeVert is back tonight, so we'll see how many minutes this guy plays in his return. But if anything, I think it spreads the floor a little bit for Russell. We'll see if they play together in this instance as well. So I just like the upside with Russell. I think that obviously the Wizards have some things to work out with the Otto Porter trade. I think Jabari Parker will be active tonight for them. So let's take a little step back on Beal for one night and then go with Russell and see where we go from there.
Jules, do you feel the same way? You're staying away from Beal here?
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily have to stay away from Beal. With Otto Porter gone, I guess that could open up a little more opportunity. But I do lean Russell here because of the matchup against Chicago. And Adam is right. Karis LeVert coming back might have a little bit to do with how Russell's been playing. He's really been the only guy that can really score for the Nets. But he's played Chicago 3 times this season. He's averaging just about 40 DK points in that matchup. So he's been roughly reaching value, and he scored 52 DK points the last time he faced Chicago. So pretty decent spot for D'Angelo Russell, as it has been a lot lately.
Matt, where are you going on this one?
Yeah, both guys really good matchups because Beal is taking on Cleveland, who has been the worst defensive team in the league this season. If I was playing one in a cash game, it would be Beal. Like, the guy has just been super safe, basically ever since John Wall got hurt. He's good for, 40-plus DK points a night. And they just don't have a lot of bodies anymore. They got rid of Porter. They dumped Markieff Morris. So, like, it's going to be him for the remainder of the season. I do think Russell has a little bit more upside for GPPs, though. I'm not super worried about LeVert being back. I would imagine the Nets take it very easy on him, in his first game off a pretty gruesome injury.
You three, please hang tight. We need your help with tonight's tiers contest coming up after a little Pebble Beach update and more way too early Super Bowl 54 odds.
I'm Carolyn Azak, and it's that time for your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. After all the drama, Anthony Davis is still a Pelican. Now the question is, what will they do with him? Rumors have been flying around that New Orleans may shut down their biggest asset for the rest of the season, but the team confirmed Thursday that we will see AD in the lineup. Pelicans general manager Dell Demps said in a statement, a number of factors contributed to this decision. Ultimately, Anthony made it clear to us that he wants to play, and he gives our team the best opportunity to win games. Fantasy owners should proceed with caution, however. Woj reports that Davis will play in fewer, if any, back-to-backs, and will see a reduction from his 37 minutes per game. All of this is more than likely just to appease the NBA, who would be concerned about a healthy star player being forced to sit out to preserve his trade value. We're heading into an exciting weekend of golf as the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am continues. So here to get our rosters right is Jeff Ulrich and Reed Fowler. Jeff, who's looking good for the weekend contests?
Well, I mean, again, this is kind of a special event, Jessie, because it's a three-course rotation, and the three-course rotation is in play for one more day. So you're targeting weekend golfers. You really got to look at the players who are going to be on Monterey Peninsula. That's the easiest course tomorrow. The guys who play Monterey Peninsula, not necessarily the star players, but Lucas Glover right now, top player as far as who will be on that course tomorrow. You also got a guy like Scott Stallings. Rafa Cabrera-Bello is probably going to be the top target for the guys who are on Monterey Peninsula tomorrow. He's at 7 under. He's been playing really well. Obviously, you can still play some of the studs, too. They're going to be on Pebble Beach. It's a little bit harder course, but it's not that much harder. I like the look of both of our pre-tournament predictions, Jason Day and Russell Knox, both playing solid golf. Jason Day definitely heated up on the back nine today. He's got a couple holes to go to finish his round, but he'd be my top choice from the guys from Pebble.
Reed, who you eyeing?
Yeah, all the guys that Jeff mentioned have a really good shot. Rafa is one of those guys too, right? Like when you look at these tougher courses or tougher conditions, he definitely pops up. And really you have to look at, because now play has been delayed due to rain, who are the guys that are playing in these tougher conditions on the easier courses? You look at bogey avoidance, right? Lucas Glover is second over the last 24 rounds. And so you like where his position is at in terms of the weekend showdown. Yeah, it's going to be tough, right? You're not going to get a huge number of birdies out there, but Jeff's right. You got to attack the easier courses. Monterey Peninsula, Spyglass Hill are the courses that are easier. And so all the top guys, right? All the top guys, minus a few of them, have those draws. And we're seeing Jason Days, the Jordan Spieths, really come out and perform well. So all the key guys that we were talking about earlier are panning out. So I would just keep your eye on. And Scott Stallings, he's another one that really is coming into form in this tournament too.
Yeah, and last thing for the weekend, if you're playing the two slate weekend golf, make sure you pick guys higher up the leaderboard because the cut is after Saturday's round. Yeah. So if you pick a guy too far down, he misses the cut, you're not going to get that round on Sunday. It sounds simple, but make sure you do that. So
Jeff, that's gold. Thank you.
Incredible stuff, and that's all the time we have now to talk golf. Let's focus on football. What an incredible segue. And because it's Friday and we like to live dangerously, we're going quad box. Bring in Peterson, Steve. Wow, the show just got 10 times more beautiful.
Wow. Gang's all here. So let's do the only thing we can do right now and look ahead at the odds of a couple teams to win the Super Bowl next year.
54.
So we did this yesterday, and we're likely going to keep doing it until we get through all the teams in the league. Same rules. Are these odds to win next year's Super Bowl too high or too low? So let's start with Andrew Luck and the Colts at plus 1,400. What do you say, Steve?
I don't mind them at all. I think it's actually kind of just right. So I'm sorry if you don't have a graphic ready for that, but I don't mind those at all. I mean, really, if you look at relax, okay, Jeff's not on yet. Calm down. I mean, if you look at what the Colts have and what's returning next year, they have a pretty solid team top to bottom. Just anything I think that they really need is probably a pass rush. They really were poor in that aspect last season. So if they can improve on that, We'd really like that too. Maybe a second wide receiver too. I think I feel a little bit better about that team, but really top to bottom, I think they're definitely going to be in the hunt. They're definitely going to be in the running next season. So I like those odds. I think these are pretty set well.
Pierce, is it just right for you too?
Well, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to get burned by the graphics department, so I'm going to say it's too low.
Thank you.
Steve's right. It's pretty close. They aren't very many players away. The defense is fine this year. Maybe add a cornerback, which is a tough spot to fill. You can get a veteran or whoever you can get in there to help out. But for the most part, the defense played fine, and they're going to be able to compete in most games at home. You've got a good quarterback. The offensive line was great this year. Marlon Mack looked like he turned the corner. But like Steve mentioned, if they get a number 2 wide receiver, and they may not even need it. Dontrell Inman played pretty well, but if they get a number 2 wide receiver along with Ebron and T.Y. Hilton doesn't seem like he's slowing down a bit, this offense could be scary next year.
Reed, too high, too low, or getting burned by the graphics department?
Yeah, I want to say it's a little too high, and the reason why is we really like this team, right? Like these guys have said, there's only a few areas where they need to improve. I would say the secondary needs a little bit improvement, and then edge rushers on defense. But we all know that their linebackers and that defense is really, really stout. And look, they have the number 1 in total cap space, so they can really go out and get a lot of key guys there. And guys like Lev Bell, maybe that second receiver that we'll talk about a little later in the show. I think they become a contender. And we see this division, and Pierce mentioned it yesterday, this division always sends a couple of teams to the playoffs. So, I mean, in terms of health, in terms of where they are, and Andrew Luck getting a full preseason, not throwing a miniature ball and actually throwing an NFL-sized ball, I think he has the ability to take this team deep into the playoffs.
Jeff, it's your time to shine.
I'm going to say it's a little bit too high. I mean, I like the Colts. I like the way they're going. I think they have really good pieces. They got a good offensive line. The guys alluded to their corners are actually really good too. But the problem is, are they going to get a bye? Like, are they really going to overtake one of the Chiefs and the Patriots? They have a tougher division because all those teams in the AFC South could easily make the playoffs. So that worries me a little bit. I just don't know if I'm getting enough juice here to take a shot with the Colts at the Super Bowl. I think their odds are up a little bit or down a little bit, whatever, based on their really good run last year. And I think that's just, taking a little bit out of what you need to take a bet. I'd much rather see them in the plus 2,000 range. I think that'd be a better spot for them. So I like the team. They have potential, but these odds aren't quite for me.
Pierce, the Vikings were a disappointment this year. Super Bowl odds sit at plus 2,200 right now. So is that too high or too low for you?
Well, first of all, when we say too low or too high, what are we saying? Are we saying too good or too bad?
Jeff's
essentially confusing me here.
Yeah, Jeff's confusing everybody.
I think these are too low. I mean,
they're
not a good team. Sure. How about we just say that? Look, the Vikings, they are a good team. The defense took a step backwards this year, but they'll be fine next year. Xavier Rhodes will play much better. Say what you want about Kirk Cousins. He could be a good quarterback. They've got good receivers. They've got the running back. The problem is, they don't have an offensive line. They have 4 positions on the offensive line that they have to fix. Offensive line, I don't know where they're going to find the guys. This is the toughest position to fix, and you got to fix 4 guys. If they could magically get some offensive linemen in there, this team would be a Super Bowl contender. It would bring Cook to life. Kirk Cousins would be a decent quarterback. They've got the receivers, but that's just too much.
So, Pierce, what would you like us to ask you? Instead of too high, too low, what would you want us to say?
Too short or too long?
Okay.
Too hot or too cold?
All right, Reed, do you understand the game we're playing?
Yes, I do.
All right, go ahead.
These odds are too short, right? So this is too low for me. This team, like Pierce was saying, right, like their offensive line needs a ton of help. We saw Kirk Cousins necessarily, right, one of the richest quarterbacks in guaranteed money, not necessarily play up to what he was paid. And that was sort of the debate that we had coming into the preseason. Like, this defense is really good, but they're losing some key guys potentially to free agency. Anthony Barr, who, again, doesn't really necessarily show up, but he's a good defender as a linebacker. And Sheldon Richardson, right? They're losing some guys on that defense too as well. So I just, at this number, right, we've seen the Vikings get close and we've seen them bitten with that injury bug. But at plus 2,200, I'd rather see this, like Jeff was saying with the Colts, I'd rather see us higher, about 28 to 3,000 in terms of to feel comfortable about this bet. So it's too low for me.
Jeffrey, too long or too short here?
Okay, I fudged up, guys. I'm sorry. I'm like the first one. I confused Pierce. We had to go off on a rant about it. It wasn't that big a deal. This is too low. Okay, the Vikings are too low. They should be higher in the odds. Look, on top of everything that everyone's already said, they're in a tough division. I mean, they got the Bears, the Packers, okay, the Lions suck, but the Bears and the Packers are pretty good. I mean, I'm expecting a bounce back year from the Packers. Anytime you have to play Aaron Rodgers twice, that's not good. So, again, I mean, I just don't really like Mike Zimmer that much as a coach. You saw what he did last year. He started to stick his nose into the offense, wanted to run the ball more behind a poor offensive line. I don't know why. You have Adam Thielen on Steph Diggs on the outside. I think you're going to see more of that this year, and I think it's going to lead to the Vikings' demise, quite frankly. I think this is another 500, maybe 9-17, and I don't like these odds at all to take the shot on the Super Bowl. I think they have some nice pieces, but until they get the coaching situation figured out, what kind of team they want to be, no, not for me.
Take it away, Steven.
I think Pierce was confused because Jeff sounds like he's in a tin can. Change the batteries in your microphone when we get
the audio. His audio is not good today.
No, it's really bad. He's in a tin can. He lost a ton of money. I don't like these odds at all. I mean, these guys keep saying how bad Minnesota's offensive line is. Exactly. So what are you going to take them for? I think they're just too high. Yes, they have all these weapons and everything, but until they actually make something and make some changes there, look at Kirk Cousins all season long. He looked terrible. You think that same offensive line all of a sudden is going to magically come together and then all of a sudden the Vikings are going to start doing well? No, they need some serious help on that offensive line, and until they fix that, they're not going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Steve, is this better? Is that better?
Yes.
Better.
Wow. It's
Okay.
big.
I'm over 2. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, let's go to the
nail the
next
third
one.
one.
All right, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys have plus 2,500 odds to bring a championship to Jerry World. Reed, too high or too low?
Man, this is too low. I mean, we always get the Cowboys juiced up, right? I mean, they're a public team. A lot of public money comes on them. But like Steve mentioned in terms of, or like we've mentioned, this division is, it's not that hard of a division to get through. So we see the Cowboys do pretty well. The Giants, the Redskins, right? They don't scare you. The Eagles, they don't really scare you that much. And so in terms of where we're getting these teams, again, their defense is strong and their offensive line is strong, so they can make it to the playoffs. But in terms of where they're able to go, I don't really think Dak Prescott at this point, especially with the Cowboys, are at that spot. So I think this is too low for me.
Jeff, where are you going?
Okay, got the good sounder microphone. I know how the game works. I think this is actually too high for the Cowboys. And I mean, plus 2,500. This is bigger odds than the Vikings. And I mean, this is a pretty good team. They beat the Saints in the regular season last year. Like Reed said, they have a pretty easy division. I mean, it looks like the Giants are going back to Eli for another year. So there we go. Just got to get past the Eagles. Not that tough a job. So I think if the Cowboys can get into the playoffs again, win their division, I think they have a very real shot. And at plus 2,500, I don't mind these odds. I mean, once you get under plus 2,000, it's a different story. But 2,500, yeah, I think this is a pretty good price for a team that is really solid in certain positions. Quarterback, offensive line, they're set at quarterback. I like it.
Steve, too high, too low?
Yeah, it's so soothing to hear Jeff's voice in high def. I think it's too high as well. I think, yeah, I mean, really, they get a second wide receiver that's not named Cole Beasley or anything like that. They're a legitimate team. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, Mari Cooper, if they keep going with those guys, then they get another legitimate threat at wide receiver. I think this is an all-around team. I mean, we joked about the big game that Blake Jarwin had, but honestly, he has the capabilities. I mean, he was a guy that Dak Prescott was testing in the red zone near the end of the year. So if they're going to have all these guys in the red zone, then they add another one into that mix. Like, that's where Prescott's skill set really will start to shine. So I think they're right there. They add one more guy. They're definitely in the mix. So this is too high.
All right. Well, too high for Steve. What do you think here, Pierce?
Peace.
Peace,
bro. Peace.
I like peace. I like peace.
What's going on today? Too high. I agree with Jeff and with Steve. And I don't believe they need to go out and find a guy. They might need to go out and find a receiver, but Michael Gallup was kind of coming into his own. He's that deep threat that's going to open up the field, open up routes underneath for Cooper and maybe Blake Jarwin. Who knows? But the offense looks like it's going the right direction. And as Reed mentioned, the offensive line is fine. If you get to the playoffs and you have a good offensive line and you play defense, you can win the Super Bowl. It's what the Patriots do every year. They turn on the defense. The offensive line is steady. Of course, they don't have Tom Brady, but Dak Prescott's getting better each year. This is a legitimate threat. And this division, they don't have any quarterbacks. Every quarterback is injured or is just bad. And, I mean, I imagine Carson Wentz will be injured 5 weeks into the season, and they won't have Nick Foles to bail him out.
All right, apologies to Jacksonville. We ran out of time. Good stuff from you guys. Sorry, dudes. I know the producer got my ear.
I'm sure this will be back next week.
Yes, we will talk the Jaguars Super Bowl odds next week. Don't you worry, gentlemen. We've got NBA coming your way after a special MLB preview with Gary and Thorne from the PME Studios!
Billy Hamilton.
Yes.
Not a good baseball player. Great fantasy player, though.
Not a good baseball player.
Like, I think we've now gotten a large enough sample where we can just look at it and go, it's not coming. The contact numbers, like, in fact, the swinging strike rate got worse last season. The contact rate got worse.
Yeah, just when you think it couldn't.
Yeah, I didn't think there was lower to go, but apparently we hit it. So he's a one category guy, maybe two at best, depending on where he gets put in that lineup. So, could maybe score 75, 80 runs, batting out of the 9 spot for the Royals, but that's a bad offensive lineup anyway. Yeah. But it also it should be noted, someone we used to pencil in for 50 steals only stole 34 bases last season.
Yeah.
So that's bad when your one skill decreases by...
He's not getting on base. He's not going to have a 300 on base percentage.
So here's the thing, though, and we talk about it every year, stolen bases. Hard to find.
Yeah.
And we talked about this specifically in the ADP Top 20 show. So many of those guys who were like, oh, wow, Trevor Story's in the top 20 now. Stolen bases. All about stolen bases.
Yeah.
So I went through... Hamilton still finished 5th, I think, in baseball last season in stolen bases. If you go through the other 9 guys inside the top 10 last year, here are their ADPs by Fantrax. Whit Merrifield, 37.8. That's fine. Merrifield's actually a good hitter.
Yeah, he's a great hitter.
Trey Turner, 7.6. Yeah. 20 home runs, going to hit you 280.
Yeah.
We've all come to terms with Trey Turner as a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Then we've got Jose Ramirez, also very good. Starling Marte, 37.3. He's been drafted in that exact spot for a decade now. Mookie Betts, really good at baseball. 2nd overall pick.
Really good at baseball.
Lorenzo Cain, about 70th overall.
Yeah.
Then there's this really interesting tier. We've got Jonathan Villar, who's probably going to play every day for the Orioles this year.
Yeah.
Going at about pick 110. We've got Malik Smith going about pick 111. And we've got D. Gordon going about pick 113. 222.
Exactly.
How is there that discrepancy?
I don't know. And this is why, and I know you and I have been on the same page. We've kind of chuckled. I have. Every time I saw Billy Hamilton, especially 2 years ago.
40th. He went 40th in the FSTA Experts draft.
I cringe right now still.
Yeah.
It always blew my mind because I never ever thought he was a good hitter. I never thought he could get on base. He was a one category guy. Maybe, like you said, he was going to get you 2. He was leading off.
Back when he was leading
team.
off, you were like, you could kind of get it.
Maybe he can get on there and steal some bags and score some runs for you with some hitters behind. But I just always thought, why would I spend that pick on him when I can get somebody else a little bit later on? And this was VR too, a couple years ago, right? I mean, he had that nice season and we were paying a 3rd-round pick for him because of some power there and some stolen bases. But I'm not going to spend that pick on Malik Smith when I can spend that pick on Billy Hamilton with my last pick of a draft.
Yeah.
It's just that makes too much sense to me.
So we did talk about this a little bit.
I've never been on him.
Yeah.
But now I'm on him.
You have to be.
I love the price.
I'm the same way. This is just a classic buy low situation.
Absolutely.
People have soured to him too much.
Yeah.
Let's talk tiers, shall we? Because you don't have a choice. But here once again is our NBA panel. Julian Edlow of DK Live, Adam Mancuda of Phantom Sports, Matt LaMarca hailing from the Action Network.
Now, before we hit up that tiers contest, what late-breaking injury or lineup news are you keeping an eye on leading up to lock here, Matt?
There's a ton tonight. A lot of things to monitor. Luka Doncic is probably the biggest one for me. He's been so good for the Mavericks recently. And, they've pretty much gutted their team over the past week or so. So if he's active, he's going to have to do a heck of a lot for Dallas. But, Joel Embiid is also questionable. Devin Booker. If Devin Booker doesn't play for Phoenix, you can basically just cross that game off the list because they're going to lose by 40 to Golden State. Paul Millsap is questionable. And 2 point guards in Minnesota right now questionable with Jeff Teague and Jared Bayless. So lots of stuff to monitor here as we approach lineup block.
Jules, anything to add to that?
Not really. Matt was all over it, and we got a lot of names. Doncic is definitely a big one, and then some Dallas plays could become value plays if he sits out. Embiid, Jimmy Butler generally becomes a really good play when Embiid is off the floor, but now we have Tobias Harris there, so he's still going to be as good a play. I think he's still worth consideration if Embiid is out. And then Devin Booker, I don't think we're playing Devin Booker, even if he does wind up starting. But if he's out, then this game becomes a whole lot more interesting in terms of you don't feel comfortable rostering any of those Golden State studs because it could get out of hand so quickly. and what Phoenix values are safe, if any. So a lot of names to watch. And it sounds like Kevin Love is going to try to play. So as we mentioned in the first segment, we probably don't want to play him, but any of those value plays that were in Cleveland's lineup are kind of no more, except for the backcourt. Now that Rodney Hood's been traded to the Blazers, Alec Burks traded to Sacramento. So guys like Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson will get a lot of minutes, but that front court is going to jam back up, assuming Love plays.
Adam, anything to add to all this
No,
information?
he's got nothing.
No? Everybody covered it. Cool.
All right.
You did a great job.
Yeah,
all right, good job by everyone involved. That's all the time we have for now. Just kidding. Whoever it is punching the buttons back there in our fancy control center, roll the Tears of Joy open, please. Jules, who is your guy in Tier 5 and why?
Yes, so here I got to go. Eric Bledsoe is very tempting, and I think he'll be a popular option given that Chris Middleton is resting on this slate. But I have to go with Hassan Whiteside here. He's coming off a really good, almost 55 DK points in a difficult matchup against Portland. He's scored more than 36 DraftKings points in 3 straight games, and he's playing the Sacramento Kings, who are a fast-paced team. They're terrible defensively, and it's the team that he started his career with that he always seems to burn if you want to take a little walk down narrative street.
Revenge game.
8.5 DK points the first time that Whiteside faced the Kings this season, so give me Hassan Whiteside.
Matt, was that you chiming in? You're excited about this.
Gotta love revenge games.
Actually, Matt is very excited.
Listen, I honestly thought I was going to be out on Whiteside Island alone here because he's easily the most frustrating player to roster in DFS. Like, the guy burns me every time I roster him, but I just can't resist tonight. He's been playing 30-plus minutes recently, and it's a dream matchup. He averages well over 1.4 DraftKings points per minute. So if he gets, 30 minutes in this game, I don't see a situation where he doesn't smash.
Adam, are you with these two dudes stranded on Whiteside Island?
Yeah, I mean, let's bring this sunblock. We're all going to be on the island together. I think that the other options in this tier just aren't as attractive when you take a look at some of the things. You obviously have DeMarcus Cousins and Klay Thompson. We talked about that with the matchup and blowout potential there. Don't love Bledsoe as the main guy, obviously, to put on this slate. We also want to talk about a guy like Buddy Hield. Harrison Barnes is going to be there tonight, so he should probably take some shots away from him. So give me Whiteside. Give me the upside there. If he gets his 30 minutes, great. I still think he'll provide some value regardless. And compared to the other guys, I just think he's also a safe bet. And as Matt just really said, this guy has been very streaky throughout the season and very frustrating. But tonight, I think he's probably one of the safer plays of the guys in this tier.
Don't know if you guys know this, but after 5 comes 6. So who's your guy in this tier, Adam?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting one also. Part of me, was thinking Andrew Wiggins. Part of me was saying Draymond Green. Bagley's an interesting guy, but with Barnes now there. So when I came kind of full circle on this, I went with Wiggins. And I think that the reason why is just very simply put that we don't know what's going to happen at the point guard situation. So there's probably more shots there for him, especially if those guys like Teague and Bayless are out. So I'll just take him for tonight. I don't feel very comfortable with a guy like DeAndre Jordan or Josh Richardson or anyone like that today. Jahlil Okafor, especially, if Davis plays a full complement of minutes. So I guess I'll go with Mr. Wiggins tonight in that group.
Matt, who you taking in tier 6?
Yeah, I do think Wiggins is going to be the chalk in this tier. If Bayless and Teague are both out, I'm just going to eat the chalk. I don't care. Like, it's just too good of a situation. They would literally be down their top 5 point guards or 4 point guards, and they would have no choice but to let Wiggins serve as basically the primary facilitator. If one of those guys is in, though, I think Josh Richardson is an interesting pivot. You look at the Heat, they got rid of Tyler Johnson. They got rid of Wayne Ellington. That opens up a bunch of minutes on the wing, and we've seen Richardson sort of thrive when given an opportunity earlier in the season. We mentioned the matchup for Whiteside. Richardson benefits from the same matchup, right? Fast-paced game against the Kings, not a great defensive team. So I think Richardson would be a sneaky pivot off of Wiggins if you're trying to go a little bit more contrarian.
Jules, what do you think, tier 6?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these guys are on top of it. I think the only way I'm a little bit different than Matt is that I'll be probably taking Wiggins no matter what here. Even if these guards wind up playing, it's a really good matchup against New Orleans, a team that Wiggins has faced 3 times this season and averages over 35 DraftKings points against. And Wiggins tends to be a really matchup-sensitive guy. Like, If he doesn't play well against a team, he doesn't play well against them. If he does play well against them, he tends to perform. So seeing that in his game log is really encouraging. And then if you just scroll through it, he has a 47 DK point game in his last game. 4 or 5 games ago, he had a 50 DK point game. So he has a really high ceiling. So it's going to be Wiggins for me. And if he will be the most highly owned guy, I would anticipate. If you wanted to pivot off of him, Matt was right on top of it. Richardson would be my second choice in this tier, going up against Sacramento with a shortened rotation in the Miami backcourt.
Oakley dokley. You three have those Milwaukee and Dallas showdown picks ready for later in the program, please. After this brand spanking new edition of Francesa Friday, we'll have a little NASCAR chat with Mr. Dietrich.
Well, we're not together in Atlanta anymore, but still it's a Francesa Friday, and that means fun. Mike Francesa from Mike's on WFAN in New York. Adam Kaufman here with you. Mike, it's our first time chatting since before the Super Bowl. Patriots won. Wasn't the offensive explosion most of us expected. So what's your biggest takeaway from that game?
MVP was Belichick with his defensive game plan, although Wade Phillips, I thought was better. That basically it was a bad day for the young coach and a worse day for the young quarterback. Goff was not up to the challenge. He really missed so many opportunities, which he admitted to after the game, which I thought was a good step for him. But he really had one of the real bad Super Bowl performances. The Pats played really good defense, but he missed opportunity after opportunity, and it overshadowed what was a brilliant game plan by Phillips with his Rams, because they did a great job holding the Pats down for all that time. And I really had an enormous problem with McVay on the 3rd and 21, 22, right around there from his 31 with 10 minutes left, not a give up down, handing the ball, and then punting. He had to go after that play. You at that point in a tie game cannot just say, I'm going to hand it off and give the ball back to Tom Brady. It's the 31-yard line. Hey, you might get a penalty. Somebody might fall down. You might get a defensive hold. You're second in the league in plays over 20 yards. Take a shot. I just thought that it was an unbelievable thing with 10 minutes left to say, okay, here, I'll give the ball back to Brady one more time. And then 6 plays later, they're in the end zone. So I really had a big problem with that. But the key plays, Goff missing the wide open Cooks in the end zone right before he got sacked before the tying field goal. He had him there for 10 seconds by himself by 20 yards and missed him. And then Cooks dropping the ball right before the interception, a ball he's got to catch. The Rams didn't make the plays that were there. If they did, I would have loved to play that game, Adam, from 7-3 Rams with 10 minutes left and see what would have happened. I would have loved to see that. But you know what? They didn't make any plays.
So Mike, Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick together 6-3 in these Super Bowls over the last 18 years. Are you now prepared to say Tom Brady is the greatest of all time and the Pats are the NFL's best dynasty?
No, I don't think either's true. I think the longevity of it is amazing. But I don't agree that because you go to the game 9 times and win 6, you're the best automatically. I don't see that reasoning. And I've stood fast with the idea that the best Super Bowl quarterback to me was Montana, because in his 4 games, he was flawless. He never had an interception. They won all 4 games. He won 3 MVPs. So to me, he was the best Super Bowl quarterback. Brady's put together an incredible run, but I don't go with the idea that he's the best quarterback of all time just because he won the most championships. I think that's kind of flawed. I really do.
But let me ask you, isn't there a value in, you said it, you're diminishing the going there 9 times. Isn't there a value in going there 9 times even if you don't win them all? Because otherwise, like Montana, 4-0, to your point, that's terrific. He was perfect. Jordan, 6-0, he was perfect. But should you get rewarded for losing earlier in the playoffs so that you don't have a blemish on your record in the championship round?
Well, it's a funny thing, though, but where is the drawing? I mean, if he was 3-6 in the Super Bowl, would he be the best?
I do think, but I think that's where you can draw.
4-5 enough?
I think that's where you can draw a line, though, Mike, because some people like to look at the.
Well, where's the line? Is the line at 6-3, or is it 7-2, or is it 4-5-4? Where's the line? I mean, that's the point. Where is the line? He hasn't been infallible in the game. No, would you expect him to be when he's gone 9 times? But I mean, it's funny. I don't hear people say that Bill Russell's the greatest because he went and won 11 championships with the Celtics. He won 11 of 13. I don't hear people say, "Oh, he's the greatest." For that reason, you always hear Jordan's the greatest, and he was 6 for 6 in the championship. I don't think it's automatically the number of titles that makes you the greatest player to play at the position. I think there's more. You're there with a team. You're there with a coach. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you're there also. So I don't think it's just so automatic that the player's the best player because he's been there the most.
I'll agree with that, but what if you also have a ton of records for the regular season stats and for postseason stats on the whole?
I agree. But you see, to me, the way I've always looked at it is I thought the best Super Bowl performer at the position was Montana.
Right.
And I thought the best everyday player, day in, day out, that I've ever seen in the NFL regular season was Peyton Manning. So I don't have Brady in either slot. That's why I don't automatically put him as the best guy. I'm not putting anybody over him. I'm just saying I don't think it's automatic. That's all. I think the best everyday quarterback, pound for pound, regular season, year in, year out, that I've ever seen was Peyton Manning.
All right, we could do this one forever, but in the interest of time...
Absolutely, and that's why I'm not being obstinate about it. And
Sure.
if you want Brady, it's fine with me. I just don't automatically put him in.
All right, let me ask you. A video surfaced this week of league MVP Patrick Mahomes playing basketball. He's actually pretty good. Started at it in high school. But Chiefs GM Brett Veach, he nipped it right in the bud for fear of injury. He said, no more hoops. You like this, or is it micromanaging?
I wouldn't let him near a basketball court. Absolutely. I wouldn't let him near skiing. I wouldn't let him near anything where he can get hurt. He's too valuable. And just tell him about the players who have torn an Achilles tendon or torn an ACL playing basketball. I'm sorry. There's certain things you can't do. And, that goes with the territory. I'm not letting him play. I'm not letting him ski. I'm not letting him play basketball.
Alrighty, NASCAR gives birth to a new season on Sunday with an exhibition event at Daytona, the Advanced Auto Parts Clash. We have the perfect man here to talk about the road ahead, Pierce Dietrich. Great to see you.
Yeah, back again. NASCAR has announced tweaks to the rules around the different car packages available. So for us NASCAR noobs over here, what does that mean? And do you think it will actually make a difference?
Well, it's going to be a huge difference. Let me explain it in terms of baseball.
Thank you.
So Aaron Judge is a great home run hitter, and what that basically means is he has the skill of putting the small part of the sweet spot on the ball, making contact, and hit for power. Not a lot of people do that. That skill separates him from the rest of the players. Now imagine everyone had metal bats. The sweet spot is huge. Anyone can hit for power. Anyone can make good contact. That Billy Hamilton mentioned earlier in the show is just as good as Aaron Judge. He no longer has a skill advantage. That's what's happened in NASCAR. Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, they are good at limiting off throttle time. That means they break later and they get back on the throttle sooner. That doesn't exist anymore. There's almost no off throttle time. They're on the gas the entire way around the track non-stop. So it's a lot like giving everyone a metal bat. There are 25 drivers now that basically can win every single week. The entire playing field is even. This is almost like an entirely new sport.
Hell yeah. I like that.
Wow.
Some bigger names changing teams, though, including one of your favorites, Martin Truex Jr. Which one of these moves will have a big impact or the biggest impact on the 2019 season?
I don't know if Martin Truex Jr. is that big of an impact. The biggest impact is his team went bankrupt and he lost several of his crew chiefs and engineers when he switched over to Joe Gibbs Racing. He was already technically allied with Joe Gibbs Racing. They got their engines and their chassis from the Toyota team. So it's not a huge shift for Martin Truex Jr. And he retained most of his same teammates and crew chief. So I don't see a big change there. If I want to note one big change, it would be Kurt Busch leaving Stewart-Haas Racing and going to Chip Ganassi Racing. That's a big drop for him. He's going to be in inferior equipment, so I would not expect pretty good results from him this year.
All right, looking at this race in particular, the Advanced Auto Parts Clash at Daytona, Kevin Harvick is the top price driver at $9,600. Is he worth it, or would you rather look for value here?
You can afford him, but you don't really need to play drivers based on their names this week. You want to play guys in the back of the field that survive the big wreck that will inevitably happen every time we're at Daytona. So you play guys in the back. Another theory is to stack drivers from the same team. Now, there really is no such thing as stacking in NASCAR, but it's becoming a thing at the plate tracks where you get the drivers from Team Penske or Stewart-Haas. I'm leaning towards Team Penske, and they hook up, they work together, and they score all the points. Last year, the Team Penske drivers finished first, second, and fourth. So There is no such thing as stacking, but at these plate races, it's becoming a thing.
Real quick, I believe only 20 drivers in this field, right? 75 laps. Does that change anything when it comes to roster construction for you?
Yeah, it does. You really don't need to worry about fast laps or laps led because there just aren't any lap points. The big points come from finishing position and from place differential. Because we've lowered the importance of fast laps and laps led, that means finishing position and place differential will be a bigger impact this weekend.
All right, who is your slate-approved pick for this 75-lap exhibition?
I did my research.
I'm going to take Kyle Busch because even though this is an exhibition, there's no such thing as exhibitions for Kyle Busch. He's going to go out there and win or wreck. He's not going to go out there and turn laps. You can either win a lot of money or lose a lot of money with him.
Love it, dude. Look forward to talking some Daytona 500 with you next week. Enjoy your weekend, please. Jeff, Steve, and Reed return for some NFL free agent frenzy after this.
Carolyn Azak here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Only one game in the NHL tonight, so that means we get a DK showdown contest between the Carolina Hurricanes and New York Rangers. Both of these teams are on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoff race. The Hurricanes have stayed in the hunt with wins in 4 of their last 5, including a 6-5 overtime win in Buffalo last night. Teuvo Teravainen picked up 2 goals, including the game winner. Scoring usually comes in bunches for the 24-year-old winger. 6 of his 14 goals on the year have come in 3 games, so get him in your lineups while he's hot. He'll cost you $8,500 in tonight's showdown. As for the Rangers, Mika Zibanejad should be the chalk play tonight. The Swedish center has 9 goals and 17 points in his last 9 contests. He's the second most expensive skater on the board at $11,600. And if you're looking for some value, consider New York's teenage winger, Philip Cheadle, at $5,100. The 19-year-old has 4 goals in his last 10 outings and is seeing time on the Rangers' second power play unit. Puck drops at 8 o'clock. Good luck.
Alrighty, folks, we've got Jeff, Steve, and Reed back with us. We're looking ahead to next season in the NFL because we can. That's why.
It's a free agency frenzy, you guys. So which landing spot could offer the following players the best fantasy situations in 2019? Fantasy situations. Tyrod Taylor, he flamed out in Cleveland, but still may get one final chance as a starter. Where would be the best fit, Reed, for fantasy? Nope.
No, turn your mic on.
Again. Nope.
Turn it on.
There we go.
There it is. Let's go. So I like him at the Giants. I think when you look at if they keep Eli, right, Tyrod Taylor has been this journeyman as a backup. But what you like about Tyrod is sort of the antithesis of Eli. He doesn't turn the ball over. The most interceptions that he's had in a season is about 6, and that's really what you want with the Giants, right? I mean, Eli's thrown for much more than that. And in terms of the teams that need quarterbacks, whether it be a backup or star, the Giants have the most cap space, whether it be through Washington, Miami, Jacksonville, and some of these other teams, the Panthers, what Pierce mentioned earlier this week. But I really like him in the Giants spot. If they're looking to upgrade at quarterback, maybe in 2020, Tyrod's been the quote-unquote bridge quarterback of the last 2 or 3 years. So I really like him with the Giants.
Jeff, Tyrod Taylor, not the guy in Cleveland. So where could he land that would be good for fantasy?
Well, I mean, Tyrod Taylor's not going to have much fantasy value no matter where he lands. I mean, I think he could be the quarterback of the Chiefs next year, and I'm not sure how much fantasy value he'd have. He's just that type of player. He's a good ball control quarterback. Reed alluded to it. He doesn't turn over the ball much, but he's conservative. He just does not throw the ball that much down the field, and he's not that great a downfield passer. I think if he's going to be a starter, Washington would make a ton of sense. I mentioned that for Teddy Bridgewater yesterday, and I think it makes a lot of sense for Tyrod Taylor, too. He fits with a coach like Jay Gruden, who might have to adjust his scheme a little bit for Tyrod Taylor because he's more of a running quarterback, but he would fit in well with the Redskins and what Jay Gruden wants to do. I think he's going to end up more as a backup person. He'd be a great backup for Lamar Jackson, maybe Russell Wilson. These teams that like to run the ball would benefit from having a veteran like Tyrod Taylor behind. But starters, there's just not many places for Tyrod Taylor. He's either going to need an injury, he's going to need a team like Washington or Miami to take a chance on him as a bridge quarterback.
Steve, any team you could see Tyrod Taylor being a viable fantasy option at?
Yeah, like Jeff said, I mean, he's not going to be fantasy relevant next season. I agree with him, though. I think the Redskins is the most, the spot that makes the most sense for him. I mean, they're just going to kind of bridge him again for when Alex Smith hopefully comes back from that injury. But, I mean, he's not somebody that they're going to rely upon as to be their guy, and really any team at this point, even with the Jaguars. I don't see how they're going to go to Tyrod Taylor and feel like that's going to be their guy. So I think the Redskins make a lot of sense. Let him do his thing for 1 year. The Redskins probably aren't going to be that competitive next year. So I think Tyrod makes a lot of sense in Washington. But again, in terms of fantasy purposes, not many.
All right, speaking of Washington here, dudes, Adrian Peterson had over 1,000 yards for the Redskins. Does he have anything left to help a contender here, Jeff? He's going to be 34 next month.
I mean, he does have. He proved it last year. I mean, he proved me wrong. I mean, I talked about him, but look, the guy's got juice left in the tank, regardless. I mean, this guy's just one of the best athletes in the world when it comes down to it, regardless of what you think of him personally or whatever. I think he does still have something to offer. Now, the one thing I'll say about Adrian Peterson doesn't really fit the modern NFL because he's not a very good pass catcher. So I'm not expecting him to go in and grab a starting job anywhere. He's probably going to need an injury to get significant workload. But as a tandem back, maybe a team like New England brings him in just for insurance. Maybe someone gets dinged up. Somewhere like that, I could definitely see Adrian Peterson landing. Maybe going back to Washington, honestly, might be the best spot for him because guys coming off the ACL might not even be 100%. But look, there's multiple spots where Adrian Peterson could go. He's going to need an injury, in my opinion, to be really fantasy relevant. But as far as does he have something to offer? Yeah, he proved it last year.
He has said he does want to keep playing for the Redskins. Both parties are going back and forth on numbers here. Steve, what do you think the future looks like for this guy?
Yeah, I think the Redskins make a lot of sense. Kind of like what Jeff alluded to. When you think about teams and if they need running backs, he's not that pass catcher, and that's really what you need to be at this point to be successful in the NFL. Maybe Miami could be a fit for him. I kind of play with that idea, but I don't know. There's so many anomalies in Miami right now that it's hard to pin him down for a team there. But yeah, he's a nice guy to have on the bench. He's just not somebody that's going to be your number one. I mean, he can do the ground and pound when the year begins, but his age seems like it catches up to him as the year goes on. So I know he had a couple good games late this season as well, but without the pass catching abilities, it's really hard to rely on him to be a guy you're going to go out to every week. So it's tough. I think the Redskins make the most sense.
Hey, Reed, in 2017, this dude looked cooked, but last year he played in all 16 games for the first time in 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, like a team that we talked about earlier, right? And these guys are right. The court or the running back right now, the modern day running back, isn't exactly Adrian Peterson, but he can definitely help a lot of teams. I like him when cold weather teams, especially during obviously the cold winter months where you need that guy to secure the ball. You need to get those 4 to 5 yards. Chicago, right? We talked about Jordan Howard as someone who's not really panned out in Chicago. I mean, if you can have a guy like Adrian Peterson there, and then obviously have Tariq Cohen as a change of pace, he could really help out that team in terms of what they want to do. Now, does it fit their offense and Matt Nagy? Not necessarily, right? But, I mean, is it crazy to think, too, that he potentially goes back to Minnesota? I mean, Latavius Murray is a free agent this year, and I mean, he fits perfectly in that situation, right? If Zimmer is going to run the ball going back to Minnesota, and if this is his last season, that would be sort of that storybook ending. So the teams that play in cold weather, I think, fit him the best. The NFC North is definitely a division that would cater to him, but it's tough for him, right? Older, and teams don't necessarily need him. He has to go like these guys are saying, to a team that potentially needs depth in terms of safety on the injury side. So
if you're looking for stylistic fit, Baltimore and Seattle actually make the most sense because all these teams do is run, right? So they could see one of those type of teams take a flyer on them.
All right, guys, Golden Tate, he was traded from Detroit to Philadelphia 10 games into last season. He's now a free agent. Where could he make a real fantasy impact, Steve?
My God, get him in a Patriots jersey, please. How has this not happened yet? But, I mean, the problem is that he plays primarily out of the slot. And you're not going to bump Julian Edelman out of that spot. If they can get him on the sides, I mean, look, they need a replacement for Chris Hogan. I mean, Hogan is just not that guy. I mean, he looked awful during the playoffs. How many times did they throw him through the Super Bowl? And Hogan didn't even know what was going on. I'm not even sure he was conscious during that game half the time. But I think he would just fit so well on the Patriots. Playing on the outside is not usually where he plays. But, man, I think he would just scheme so well with Tom Brady. He needs to be on the Patriots.
Reed, what do you think?
Yeah, so much for that Philip Dorsett, though, call, Steve. I mean, Hogan saw more targets than Dorsett. But look.
Got to take his shots, baby.
I know, exactly. I love it. But look, I mean, we talked about Indianapolis, right? If they get that second receiver and Golden Tate with Andrew Luck, especially with Eric Ebron, Jack Doyle, and obviously with T.Y. Hilton, like Dontrell Inman is a nice play there, but you can't think that Golden Tate wouldn't increase the talent of that wide receiving core. And like I mentioned earlier, the Colts have the most cap space, so they can sign potentially 2 big guys. And if it's not Indy, it's San Francisco for me. If they don't get AB, I could potentially see Golden Tate with that younger wide receiving core. Obviously, Garcon and some of these other guys are dinged up. I could see him in one of those two spots.
Jeff, where would you want to see Golden Tate?
Yeah, there's a lot of different landing spots for Golden Tate. I mean, he could go to a variety of different teams, and it kind of comes down to, does he just want the max contract, or does he want to go to a good situation? I agree with Reed. I think Indianapolis would be fantastic for him. T.Y. Hilton playing the outside, Golden Tate running underneath. That would look really good. I think he could really make some stuff work with Andrew Luck there, too. I think San Francisco is definitely a possibility. They're a team that should need to add a veteran guy. I mean, Pierre Garcon has been banged up, hasn't really done much. I think Golden Tate would be an improvement. But you got teams like Buffalo, maybe. I mean, Jacksonville. They might just throw a bunch of money at him, and he might just take it. So there's a lot of veteran teams out there that could use his services. I just don't know if that's what he's going to choose to do. It all comes down to contract. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Pittsburgh might be, again, with the Antonio Brown situation, they might just have a spot, and it might be a good fit for Golden Tate. So there's just so many places that could open up for him right now. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes.
Well, apologies to Jared Cook. We ran out of time. You three are free to go. Thanks for all you do for us here on The Sweat. Last block of the show is next, and we have NBA Showdown picks for you.
Hey, it's Brendan Glasheen, and with this DraftKings Fantasy Flash, NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reports it's possible for wide receivers Martavis Bryant and Josh Gordon to be reinstated and back by training camp. Both players are suspended indefinitely, which means there's no firm date they can apply for reinstatement. And of course, all of their focus is getting better and following their treatment plans. Should all go well, the NFL Players Association could lay the groundwork in May. In Bryant's case, he was suspended in December after a knee injury already ended his 2018 campaign. Just 8 games played for the Raiders. Substance abuse violations cost him before, as he missed the entire 2016 season. Bryant is set to become an unrestricted free agent. Gordon is down in Gainesville, Florida, at an inpatient center receiving treatment. Flash showed flashes of his old self in 11 games wearing a Patriots uniform. The 27-year-old violated the terms of his reinstatement due to multiple violations of the NFL drug policy. The first date to circle is March 13th. Up until 4 p.m. that day, New England can submit a qualifying offer to Gordon, who is a restricted free agent. Key to all this, both wideouts must stay clean. Warm regards to Bryant and Gordon.
Not a lot of time left and a lot to get to, kind of. So I'm just going to cut to the chase here. We're looking for our NBA Panel Showdown contest picks for tonight's Milwaukee-Dallas game. And said NBA panels on your screen, Julian, Adam, Matthew.
So who's your captain's pick in this game, Julian?
Yeah, I think we can roll with Giannis here. I know you're going to have to pay all the way up, but there's enough value on both sides with Chris Middleton sitting for the Bucks. And then on the Mavericks side, after this trade, the Kristaps Porzingis trade, there's just a ton of value left over in other guys.
Very expensive pick there. What, $19,500?
$19,500.
I'm not Colin Phillips. I'll pay up for this type of stuff.
Okay, Adam, who you going with?
Love the Greek Freak tonight. Got to roll with Julian on this one. I completely agree. Not much value, tons of value elsewhere. Not much star power elsewhere. So give me the Greek Freak.
Matt, you want to break the bank with these guys?
Yeah, I don't know where these guys are seeing all the value. I mean, there are a couple of intriguing plays, but I like Malcolm Brogdon at captain. He's honestly seen the biggest bump on the team with Middleton off the court. So I'm going with that route and then loading up.
Guys, we're going to go straight to Slate-approved pick now. Your lock play of the night for this entire 8-game NBA slate. Julian, go ahead.
Hassan Whiteside. He kills the Kings when he plays against them and has been playing really well of late. Cheap, too.
Oh, is that right? Okay, Matthew.
It is right, Emerson.
I got to agree. It's Hassan Whiteside. Just too good of a spot. If he's going to continue to see, 30 minutes a night, he's way too cheap at $6,800.
Did you ever think this day would come where you're picking him as your Slate-approved pick again?
Yeah, and then next week I'll hate him again. Yeah. This is how it works.
Yeah, true.
Adam, what say you, man? Your Slate-approved pick, your lock play of the night.
Yeah, I'm going to go, I don't want to agree with these guys on everything. So give me Blake Griffin. He just dominated the Knicks a couple nights ago. I think he does it again tonight. Obviously, the Pistons made a few trades at the deadline, but Griffin's the constant there. No one on the Knicks could stop that guy up front. Obviously, Cantor's gone. Who's going to guard him? Noah Vonleh. I mean, DeAndre Jordan, who knows? He's not going to play that many minutes. Obviously, it's normal if the Knicks are going to tank. So give me Blake Griffin to kind of do that again, what he did the other night.
Amazing. Those are your showdown picks. Guys, excellent work. As always, we appreciate the time. I'm Jessie. He's Emerson. This show is The Sweat. It's going to be back Monday at 6
o'clock.
I'll be here. You won't.
I'm be on a beach cooking, roasting.
He is going to be on a beach getting a tan, but you should tune in on Monday at 6 p.m. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the DK Live app, which you should download right now. Latest up-to-date updates. Emerson has now dismissed himself.
I got a plane to
from
catch.
The show. I'll be here Monday.